Richie Rich Show.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Matrix.
Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
Hey, what's up, y'all? What's going on? What's going down? I haven't made a video in a few days. It's Labor Day today, or what is it? Tuesday. What's Tuesday morning now? So Labor Day was last night. This is boy Richie Rich, man. Back on the ones and twos of this trucking game. I hope everybody's doing fine. Hope everybody's doing well, especially guys who are working for Prime. Hope you guys are doing very well. I'm waiting for my bills right now, and I got empty. You know, it appears that things have turned around. I can tell that the low quality is getting a little better, and the revenue this week is actually looking really good. It's not where I would want it to be, but I'm thankful for what it's at. My goal here is to make, well, as much money as I can. Like to see my revenue around $7,000 or $8,000 a week. But this week, it looks like it's going to be a $6,000 a week, you know, and it's been a while. So I guess whatever Prime has done to cut in the fat or change things, it appears to be working. I know it's a lot of other YouTubers who make content for Prime are really not making videos either, because I'm assuming that they're busy too. And this video is making me, you know, I'm making this video, one, to give an update, and two, to kind of put some information out there to make you guys think how big a Prime is and the type of money they're bringing in. I have a rule in life. It's called 80-20 rule. And what that basically means is, you know, a company gives you 20%, but they make it sound like 80%, you know, but they have to make that 20% look really, really good, so that you think that you're getting, you know, 80%, but you're not in actuality only getting 20. I was thinking about Prime, right? I was looking at some of the information I could find on this company. The reason I'm making this video is because it's all a Matrix. You know, the movie The Matrix came out many years ago. You know, that has some true bearing on today's society. You know, how everything is a kind of a facade. Do you know what I mean? And the reason I say that is, you know, while I sat home, when I got my hub fan fixed, I sat home and I was looking at my my rate confirmations, and something dawned on me that I just have not thought about, and I haven't checked for. And what dawned on me is I don't see the percentage. You know, when you work as a lease operator for Prime, if you look at your pay settlements, like the fourth page down or third page down on your settlements, it's the attachment I meant. You can see the actual cost of the load, and then you can see the subtraction of what they took out for your percentage. That'd be the 28% they take from you guys. Well, me being on the logistics side, okay, I was under the impression that they only took 15% and that I got 85% of the load. Well, in actuality, when I did a little digging to make sure I was correct, they actually take 20% of the load. And see, this is where that rule 80-20 comes into play. You know, they make that 20% look really good, like an 80%, but it really isn't. And it blew my mind. And I started thinking and I started looking. You know, when you have a lot of downtime, you have time to think. Your mind can be your worst enemy. And I was looking at the rate confirmation, and a lot of questions popped into my head. Now, I'm not talking bad about Prime, but this is in general all mega carriers. You know, this is the facade they put out there, and it's freaking genius if you think about it. You know, one thing I noticed is Prime has a brokerage in Chicago, Illinois, and for some reason FMCSA must have very lenient rules to carriers in Chicago, because it's a lot of them. Almost everybody has a office in Chicago, and there's something up with that. And I think probably because you don't have to physically be there to run your office, okay? And one thing I noticed is that, you know, on my rate confirmation, they don't show the 20% that they take. So for instance, if the load's $1,000, right? Prime gets $200 and I get the rest. You know, that shocked me. Now, I'm not going to say Prime is taking more than 20%, okay? But, you know, you just don't know. You know, it's not written there. And that kind of threw me for a loop. You know, surprised me. And then it got me thinking about how much money Prime is making. And the numbers I'm about to give you are staggering. Okay, what I'm about to tell you, what I can see and what I can multiply, and the conversations I had, the numbers are staggering that Prime makes. And it makes me wonder a lot of things, okay? See, that's one thing that I guess the old detective in me kind of can't die, you know, the old who, what, where, why, and when, you know. It just can't leave me, because I'm curious about it, because, you know, being a truck driver is my first time working in the, I guess you could say, private sector, you know, because I was a government employee. So I guess that would be the public sector I was. And, you know, being a cop, you just go to work, you punch in your clock, you do your job, and you punch out. Okay, there's nobody making money off of you per se, other than the revenue you generate when you're writing tickets. Okay, that was the biggest thing. You know, there was police that, you know, got rewards for crossing the $100,000 mark and the $1 million mark for citations. Okay, they do give rewards for that stuff. But in the private sector out here in the open world, I always wonder how much somebody's making off of me. Like, what am I worth to them? Okay, it makes me wonder. And a lot of times you don't complain as long as you're being fed and they're being fed, you kind of don't complain. You know, this is why I believe in the United States, you know, capitalism and slavery are kind of the same thing to me. And I hope nobody gets offended about me saying that, but this is my belief. You know, when slavery ended, capitalism kind of started. Do you know what I mean? Because they ride the same wave. You know, slavery had free labor and an economic powerhouse, and capitalism had cheap labor and an economic powerhouse. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I'm being ripped off or cheated out or anything like that, but it just made me wonder how these companies, not just Prime, but all these carriers, are making money off us drivers. And the numbers are astounding, okay? So Prime has about 7,000 drivers. That's what their website says, about 7,000 drivers, okay? On top of that, Prime, at the time that I read the website, has about 12,000 trailers, okay? When I applied for the logistics side of Prime, and I talked to the fleet manager and recruiter, okay, they told me they get about 15,000 loads a day, okay, between 15 and 20,000 loads a day. Okay, I want you guys to remember these numbers. I remember talking to the recruiter and the manager of the logistics side, because he told me that sometimes they got to turn down loads because they just don't have the capacity to carry them, and that's why they have the logistics side, so they don't turn down too many loads. But still, 15, 1,000 to 20,000 loads a day. I know you guys are like, what? But yeah, they do. Okay. Even in this bad market, they do. They still get that. Now, just picture this number, 15,000 loads, and at minimum, right? Each load on that truck, on that trailer actually, is carrying at least $1,000 worth of revenue. Okay. If you get your little rate con or your little proposal estimate, let's just say it's $1,000. Out of that $1,000, Prime takes $200. Okay. Now let's multiply $200 times 15,000 or 20,000. How much do you get? Prime makes between $3 million and $4 million a day. Okay. $3 million on the low end, $4 million plus on a good end. I'm telling you, they do. Even though, like, for instance, I'm on a load now, right? It didn't pay $1,000. They actually paid $2,000, but they still got 20% of that $2,000, which instead of $200 is $400. So, my numbers are based on just the basics. And the reason I say the basics, because a lot of loads at Prime are at least $1,000, at least. And some of you guys are like, well, Rich, I get a load for $800. Well, add $200 onto that. There's your $1,000. Okay. And sometimes you might get a load for $6,000, and then that 20% is higher. Okay. But to say this is that Prime makes a lot of money. So I calculated that for 365 days a year. I think that's what we got. Every day of the week, Prime makes this money. So they're making about $1.2 billion a year. That's phenomenal. I mean, that's phenomenal. They make about $1.2 billion a year. And this year, being a bad year, they're still going to make $1.2 billion. On a great year where revenue is high, loads are high, I'm sure they made probably $2 billion. But still, they made about $1 billion this year. And the reason I'm pointing this out, right, and which made me think, and listen, I know Prime has expenses, fuel, and fuel costs. I would estimate they spend about $200 million in fuel. Still, they have a profit of $800 million a year. And it just made me think, I would love to see the books. I would love to see Prime's numbers, because my philosophy is follow the money. Follow the money. It's a lot of money in this trucking business. And this company, amongst other companies, I'm not just talking about Prime, but even Swift, Knight, who has 40,000 trailers, they're making millions and millions of dollars a day, and they're paying their drivers pennies, and they're struggling. And that's where I'm getting at. I'm getting at the point that capitalism and slavery is a hell of a matrix, and I think that there will never be change in this industry. There will never be change to where it's fair for the driver, because this company is based on cheap labor. Okay, this country is based on getting somebody to do the work cheaply and only directing certain wealth to certain people. Now, I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. I've been doing trucking for 11 years now, and I'm starting to figure out the hustle of this, and it's one big facade. It really is. there's always touted you need to run miles and work hard as you can. But these last few months, people did that and they still were broke. The drivers were. But the individuals who control the company and the individuals whose pockets got fatter, okay? I would love to see the payroll of executive staff of any company. And it will make you sick. And you know what? Things will not change. There will always be cheap rates, and there will always be somebody hauling, because you know what? They don't care. They want that 20%. Okay? They don't care. As long as the load pays a certain threshold, they'll haul it because they want their percentage. It just reminds me of a situation I had when I was with Stevens, right? I was home on home time, and I got a call from dispatch, and they were begging me to go pick up a load that was around the corner from my house. They were like, look, we'll throw you $100, $200, please go get this load. I'm on home time. Please, we just need to get it before they put it on another carrier. Okay, I'll go get it. And it stayed in my head for years. I'm like, why did they force me to go do that? And it's because they wanted their percentage. Okay, they didn't care what the load paid. It just paid their percentage, so they can meet their $1 million or $2 million or $3 million quota for the day. And you think to yourself, God damn, I drove for this company and I literally had a zero paycheck. You know? And I don't want to get started on lease purchasing, because that's part of a business plan too. You know, it is. It's part of a business plan to make the drivers, you know, pay for new equipment. You know, it is. It's a business plan. Because the reason I say that is there's a company, R.E. Garrison. I have a couple buddies who work down there with them out of Alabama. And from what I've been told, they stopped hiring company drivers and they're only pushing the lease purchase deals because they want people in their trucks, even though a lot of their drivers are not generating enough revenue to cover the lease payment. They also dropped their percentage down from 72% to 70%, and they increase the lease payment for per week by a couple $100 across the whole industry. They did. And the reason I'm making this video is, why isn't the FMCA doing anything? You know why? Because they don't care. You know, they just don't. The FMCSA do not care, and they won't interfere with capitalism. Okay, they just won't. Only time they will get involved if it's something to do with safety or something to do with industry policy, but nothing about trucking becoming a modern day sweatshop. That's exactly what it is. You know, this is not really a rant. It's just a thought, and I want you guys to think of what I'm saying to you. You know, and that's another thing. You know, trucking, in my opinion, targeted the disenfranchised, the uneducated, and the low-income people. They did. You know, and the reason I say this is because a lot of these companies, you know, and a lot of these things I see on the highway, a lot of these recruitings are targeting low-income individuals, you know, who don't have enough education, who are not smart enough to understand what they're getting into. They just hear money and job. Okay? You know, the same way that they got these unemployment offices touting these immigrants into trucking, they have these stay-at-home people who need to go back to the welfare of the work into trucking. You know, these employment centers are targeting people who need to go to work. You know, this is a targeted situation. So it just makes you think that this matrix is a hell of a mind fuck, you know. And I don't know, it just makes sense now. Listen, I'm not going to say that all truckers are dumb or uneducated. That's be wrong for me to say. There's a lot of guys out here are smart and they do this, you know, and they enjoy it. But my concern is the money. You know, I'm more concerned about the money. And when you follow the money, it don't smell right. It just doesn't. You know, there should be no way that you have to run your ass off to make $2,000 a week in trucking when you work every day. Do you guys realize we work every day, Sunday through Sunday, every day? And there's people who do that and are barely able to pay their bills, or they're struggling. And these companies are making massive amounts of profit. You know, I just gave you an example of Prime's profit, but, you know, Swift, Knight, Snyder, JB Hunt, 30 to 40,000 trailers, and they all have probably a 90% occupancy. Okay? That means there's product on their trailers that are getting paid for. It just makes you think, man, they really got us, you know? They really did. All for that percentage is what it is, you know? Look, I don't care. Just pick up the load. You know, that's it. So I don't know. You guys give me your opinion about this video. I hope it didn't touch a nerve, but you know, some guys, I'm sure I get some comments like, well, Rich, I'm successful and I own 2 or 3 or 4 trucks and this and that. Okay, you are out of the 100 percentile of lease drivers or anybody getting into this trucking industry. You, sir or ma'am, are probably the top only 3%. Okay, you know, the other 97% of us, or people in general out here, are not winning like that. Okay, they are struggling. You know, and they have struggled. And the way that some of these programs are set up in trucking, it's hard to win. Because even when you think you're winning, companies come out and change the rules on you. Point example, Prime, and I'm not talking bad about Prime, but they did something that gave me a bad taste in my stomach. Any lease purchase person who had a 2018 or 2017 truck can no longer run their fleet on Prime. So it's like, I follow your plan. I put down the $14,000. I work my ass off, even some weeks not receiving a paycheck. And finally, when I make it to pay dirt, I'm hit with these new stipulations to where I have to now leave pay dirt and go out here into the free market and pray that I make it. Okay, because you decide to change the rules. Listen, I just think the whole thing is rigged. You know, I just do. Not just with Prime, but just anybody, you know, all these companies out here. They changed the rules, and they rigged the game to benefit themselves. Okay? Because like I said, their goal, even in a bad market year, they're still going to make $1 billion. Okay? Other companies, $2-3 billion. I mean, it's a lot of money. $1 billion is a lot of money. $1 billion, and there's only supposed to be 6,000 truck drivers at this company. You can pay those drivers $1 million a piece. I mean, technically you could, you know. My concern is just the money. You have to follow the money, and you have to take the red pill. Okay, not the, a lot of guys taking the blue pill and just woke up in the Matrix happy. But you got to free your fucking mind. And that's what I'm trying to make this channel and probably help you guys understand. Free your mind and understand what's going on out here. Okay? It's rigged, And just the education levels of truckers and the way the truckers are in this industry, it will always be rigged. Because I'm not going to lie, there is some educated people, there is, but the mass majority of truckers are not educated enough to understand what's going on. Okay? And that they are being put into a system where they think they're winning, but they're really not. So I'm just making this video while I'm sitting here thinking, because, when you sit back and think about the conditions, the stress, the strain, trucking used to be a upper middle class job, okay? To where you got into trucking, you were able to provide for your family, buy a house, and do a lot of things. Now, I'm not saying some of you guys ain't, but now it's turning into almost a modern day sweatshop because of the pay. Some of you guys understand, some of you won't. Anyway, you guys be easy. And the next time, like, subscribe, and comment. Drop your comments down in the comment section. I read them. Some of you guys will agree, and some of you won't. And this is not a bashing video, by the way. Okay, this is just more of a open your mind video. Okay, realize what's going on here in this industry. And after 11 years, I'm starting to smell the shit on the wall. Somebody's making a lot of money, but it isn't the guy pushing the mower. Do you understand? On this plantation, it wasn't the slave sowing the seeds and picking the cotton, okay? And then trucking is not the guy who's driving the truck, who should be making more money, okay? I would love to see the books of these companies. And I think there's a reason why they're private. Because if we saw the numbers, it would be a problem. Anyway, peace and love. Subscribe. Rich out.